Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the season 2 finale, and maybe the final time we review Loki, the series. I am the God of Stories, the podcaster of mischief, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by.
I am the Loomer, Kirk Limpetzer.
I'm Ned Caster, don't miss.
Glorious Purpose, Taylor Field.
All
Why you
right.
said it like Tommy?
Tired Borat. Glorious purpose. We are here to talk about, like I said, Loki, the ending of it, the finale, in spoilers. But of course, we'll give you our non-spoiler thoughts. So if you haven't seen it, maybe at work, you get a chance. You can also go on the feed right now at the same time. Just above it, you can see the Marvels review. Should just call it fucking Captain Marvel 2. I still do that. But did almost nearly 2 hours talking about that. Again, maybe you aren't planning to see it. Maybe you're seeing it later in the week. There is a non-spoilers portion as well. So check out both those. Give a like, rate, review. And if you really like what we do, head over to Patreon. You get things ad-free, early, exclusive. Lots of good retrospectives coming up. There's going to be, oh God, more Apes coming up, more X-Men. There'll be a Christmas one, a Zack Snyder one. And most importantly, that is the way to support us. That's the way to, if you want more content, if stuff like the movie happening and our side shows happening, that's what you want to be doing. That's all because of each and every one of you. Shout out to our Patreon producers, Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Joshua Wright, Muds, Jack Grant. Thank you for all you do. Join that tier today. Become a producer. Maybe in the new year there'll be some new stuff for you. Some more Patreon votes and stuff. So look out for that. We're going to do it. Loki, season 2, the finale. Dylan, I'm going to start with you because you weren't here last week, so you can give like a minor thought last week, but also just where'd you go? Because not where'd you go.
I'm here.
Yeah. What do you think? Because I know you had quite a few worries about, hey, there's a lot of stuff that happened, but are we going to lose that? So where, with the combo of 5 and then what we've just gotten, this almost nearly hour, it was a long finale, almost nearly hour of Loki. Where are you? Are you satisfied? Are you happy? Disappointed? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for last episode's episode 5, I kind of mixed on it because I pretty much what I thought was going to happen happened, which is not what I wanted them to go, which was kind of just, okay, here's episode 4, all these big deaths, all these crazy things happen. And I was like, well, it's episode 5, they're just going to undo all that somehow. And they did, but the way in which they did it was like, okay, it was kind of like a fun romp to go visit all these people in their actual places in the timelines and see that. So it was a fun enough journey, but I just didn't really like the whole decision with it. And I think when it comes down to this episode and then wrapping up the whole season, I really did not like the direction with this season whatsoever. This was a big flop for me, and I think it really is just a very personal thing, and it's hard for me to even pinpoint at this moment what it is. I just don't think I like the direction at all, and I think I don't want to spoil too much, but I honestly just feel like a lot of this season was a waste of my time because of the way things go. I'm trying to say it in a non-spoiler way.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
This did not work for me. I didn't like the finale. There's a couple good moments, sure, but I didn't like the finale. I didn't like where it ended, and overall, I just really, really, really bummed with the whole way this season went. It felt so small and tiny, even though there's grand things happening, whereas the first season just felt like this massive adventure, getting introduced to all these characters and worlds, and it felt so grand, whereas this just felt so small and insignificant. And obviously in the MCU, in terms of the actual lore of it, important things are happening, but just watching this whole finale, it's a long episode, and like I just had zero emotions the whole time. It just did not work for me at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll go next because I'll say I am luckily the complete opposite. So most of the season I enjoyed. I don't know if it's a season 1, but I love where we ended up. There's some theories that we thought could happen, did happen. And I think it's weird to say, and it's definitely because like obviously he's outlasted a lot of the other MCU characters, but it's weird that when this is all done, maybe they reboot after Secret Wars, but Loki's like the best developed character and of any of them, and the journey that he's went on is just quite crazy. But no, I think this hit me on a good emotional level. It did a lot of the time travel stuff that I enjoy, different situations, different things where I go, okay, I like the spin on here. And I was worried about what we talked about, where I don't think I had the same concerns you did with episode 4, but I did have the concerns of, man, is none of the season gonna matter? And it did, as far as one, our characters, are taking some of the stuff from the season and moving forward, and two, I feel like it's massive growth. It's massive growth for the Loki character from where we saw him from even last season to now. Just the things he has to do. So no, I think cinematography. I think I forgot her name, but the woman who does the score was just popping off this episode. She was going ham. Just some great music all the way around. We got some good renditions of the Green theme. And visually, we were talking about this because me, Kirkland, and Taylor watched it. It's like, man, where was some of this budget when we watched the Ant-Man and Quantumania? Like, there's some stuff in here that just looks really, really good. So, no, I think this is maybe not as strong as season 1, but I really don't have much complaints now that we're done. And I think it's easily stronger than anything else other than Loki season 1. It's stronger than the rest of them. And I think just the journey, and I really like where we ended up. And I just think it's a really cool, bold thing that they did. So I was all for it. I think they, for me in this finale, hit a home run. So that's where I am on this one. So one of you twos.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this finale. I don't think it's my favorite finale. I mean, especially like Loki season 1 was just super hot fire. I feel like it is up there in the upper tiers for me, just comparing. I mean, some of the other MCU shows have had some pretty weak finales. So for me, you know, I was pretty happy with this one. I think the big takeaways for me is just the journey that, especially just thinking of like the whole journey of what Tom Hiddleston's Loki kind of has been through, and just even thinking back to like his first appearance in there, thinking of what that character was, just hating everything around him to where he is at the end of the season. I really just appreciate that growth that they did with that character. I think I don't think it's like the boldest way to go in the finale. Again, treading carefully on the spoiler route, but I am satisfied with it, at least heading forward in future projects and knowing kind of where certain characters ended up. I'm pretty happy with it. I think I'll just save it there because it's late and I don't want to slip of the tongue, as one might say.
How you feeling?
I have to say this whole season has been fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. This episode was, I want to say it's like it's not what I was expecting, but like we had some really interesting discussions and just kind of like picking away things. So like some things that we discussed, like they I don't want to spoil some things that we discussed were like sort of going on, but then other things were completely out of left field that like I wasn't expecting. And I really liked how just the expanse of certain things were unfolding, I guess, with Loki as a character. And I know we're getting into variants and we're getting all these other different things, but like this version of Loki is my favorite. And I just it's been such a thrill ride just to see this Loki just kind of go throughout this whole adventure and get to this period now with this finale. And I really liked it. I liked how they semi kind of dived into wrapping his story up for the time being. Very, very cool stuff. And I'm excited to see what comes next from this. But all in all, I think that this show has been great. It's made me a Loki fan because I know I wasn't always like super into Loki at the start, but this show is just wonderful. Score, just, I mean, you already mentioned like the green theme. We got so many different varieties in this episode, and everything was popping off. There's so many wallpapers that you can screenshot from this episode and just put on phone, computer, printed on canvas art, whatever you want. Yeah.
Fridge background on those advanced fridges.
It's already on the fridge. Yeah. I had to print it off though. It's all black and white. Had no colored ink.
Damn. Well, we're getting into spoilers, so if you've not seen it, go check out the episode. Come back. We will be here, so we'll be right back. And we're back. So where do we want to start with this bad boy? Because there's a few angles.
Definitely not the
from.
beginning.
I want to start. Here you go, Dylan. You're not alone. Got super bad Mike with you.
SBM.
Yeah, I feel like we'll probably be in
Mike.
the minority on this is my prediction, I guess. So, Mike, I'm curious if this was the whole season for you or more just kind of the second half or even just the finale. Because for me, I don't know. I definitely peaked in episode 2, and then it was kind of downhill for me.
Yeah. No, I'm just a fan. I guess we can go to the very ending. So again, spoilers. I'm just a fan of where we are and how we got there. I love this idea. It's funny, this year we had recently Across the Spider-Verse, right? And this idea of canon points and all this ideas. I don't know why I said ideas twice. It's getting late, almost midnight.
Curious what you mean by that.
I'm curious. So I love that last week at this. Okay, he has similar powers and more god tier powers, like he remains in Kang. As far as the time splitting has functioned him in a way where he can now control these things. We see throughout this episode he's starting to learn how to control them, and I love that. Taylor will appreciate this. The great Guy Pearce movie, Time Machine. There's just certain things that you can't change, and obviously eventually we find out that's why, because Kang has kind of fucked with time, but he kind of gaslights them into thinking that, oh no, that is a canon event that you can't change no matter what. Every time you go back you're gonna fail. There's always gonna be a reason. And I guess it just hit me that maybe I could have used a little more time to show a bit of it, but I thought Tom Hiddleston played Loki loopy enough that I love when Obi explains how long it's going to take, and then you just get that splash page of centuries later, and you just think, man, how many times has this Loki been here? And I think it's a good parallel to in the first season with He Who Remains, when he's a little off and he's a little kooky. It makes sense because same thing. How long he's been sitting in that chair? How long's Loki been here? So I love all the journey from, okay, you think you have this god power that can fix anything, but you can't fix this time, loom thing. You might have to kill Sylvie. I loved all the ways till we got to obviously the finale. So
I think I wasn't fully convinced that the centuries thing, or maybe not convinced. It didn't necessarily work for me. I think it's just too much time to really have him be where he was at kind of the start of the episode, or the start of a couple episodes ago, because even if we don't have him spending centuries, I mean, I guess he wouldn't know how all these things work scientific wise, but the decision to sacrifice himself to just be that new one kind of pulling the strings so he doesn't have to kill Loki, I feel like I would have believed that even if he didn't have to go through this for hundreds of years of thinking on this moment. I feel like he was already kind of there after specifically last episode, because he has those moments with his friends, and we just see that growth of him mentioning I mean, it's when he's having that talk with Sylvie in that bar, right? Of what do you really want? Well, I want my friends to be with me there. So
he doesn't want to be alone.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be alone. And
look where we are at.
I think it's something that's just kind of nitpicky that I'll probably just get over. But I think the centuries thing was just he's not tweaking out and speaking in riddles, kind of like how He Who Remains does.
No, but he's not acting to me like Loki does. Just the way how he's quick speeding and talking, even the way he's approaching different
he's
people.
Speed running it, right?
He
knows
is,
all
but
these moves.
I just think he does not feel like the same even Loki that the episode started with. He feels like he's got to figure out. This guy feels like scattered brain, because I guess he would be, but fair enough.
Yeah, I guess that's where the whole season doesn't really work for me, because I kind of feel like the Loki very early on in this season is kind of the same guy that we got here, and the centuries thing really didn't work for me just because that whole sequence is played very comedically, the music that's going on and his big reactions when he got shredded up again, it's not working, he does it over and over again, and then he's going back and he's like, oh, you gotta do this thing, and it's just played very silly, which tonally didn't fit to me with what's going on. And so to go centuries in the future, the amount that would change for anyone in that amount of time, it's they did it as a little joke, but then it's well, there's actually huge implications if he was legitimately doing this for centuries. Now if they just said it felt like centuries or something, maybe that would have worked, but I did not like that decision.
I don't think it does anything, though, if he keeps going back to the same point, though, right? For centuries worth, because he's like Kang now, where he's out of time. He's not aging, as we're talking about with Madison. She's
how
what's
old
he
is
eating?
Loki?
Well, he's also God. Yeah, he can be alive for...
How long has he been around? Maybe that's the disconnect, but to me, he just feels like a 40-year-old guy. But if he's thousands of years old...
He is thousands of years old. I guess Thor
it works,
and
but that's not
stuff,
really how these characters ever feel, even Thor and whatnot. So... to me, it just feels like, you put centuries on anyone, that'll change them pretty significantly.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he's definitely those thousands of years old and stuff because they're gone. Which I will. Obviously, it doesn't make him lose, but we did count. Kirkland had 12 Kang deaths in this episode, so definitely takes away from the total of his MC draft a little bit. You were like, man, I'm hoping we see Victor Timely keep dying and stuff. So we'll have to get that final tally, but.
The
hope we're
tally's
gonna
still
see-
like a trillion minus like 50 now. So.
I was still hoping the whole council was going to be taken out, and then we would have been, great and everything. Which we did get mentioned, which was good. Like I'm jumping to the end, but we did get mention of the ants Kang, 616 Kang, and off in the little realm. So that's again, I think they're good trying to establish that that's not the Kang, that's just a Kang, another variant. And I do like that they're looking for Kangs after all this. I'm not sure if that's going to play into Deadpool 3 because Mobius is in Deadpool 3, so I think that's going to play into something there. But yeah, so you get this thing where, okay, so you can't fix the loom as of the time, he thinks. You can't fix the loom. And I thought, because we talked about this in the review last week, I thought it was a great touch for, okay, if you can't fix all this, how do you fix the problem that can't be fixed? Well, you don't, like, there has no problem. Make it so there's no problem. So I liked going back to the season 1 finale. It sucks because I really do think we are going to lose Majors, and we should if all those things are true. But again, much like the ilk to season 1, I loved the whole conversation with Loki and Kang. Those two characters, to me, just for some reason, they just gel so well. And I like that Kang kind of let them kill him because he knew there was no end point. They're going to have to travel back here. Now Loki kind of outsmarts him later on in the episode, but this whole time it's like, how many times have we had this conversation? How many times have you done that? And I honestly was surprised. I thought he was going to have to kill Sylvie. I really thought we were going that direction because they were really emphasizing of, they make a joke like, you're going to have to kill me. So I like that they hit on that so hard, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be brutal. To save everything, he has to kill this woman he loves, and they didn't do that. He kind of kills himself in a sense, like he's still alive, but you know what I mean, he's sitting somewhere not doing anything. So I enjoyed everything with going back to He Who Remains, doing the different scenarios, and again, kind of like that canon event of like Uncle Ben must die. It's like in this, Kang is like almost making a fake canon event that, oh, this has to happen, no matter what, it has to happen. The loom that's going to destroy everything but the sacred timeline, like you're kind of screwed. Like I said, Loki later on outsmarts him, but I like that he's kind of gaslighting Loki for 20 minutes into thinking you are done. And I love He Who Remains. I would actually love it if He Who Remains ended up being like the Kang that was the top tier of them. But again, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think this is the last time we see Majors, in my opinion. So
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to get too invested in that whole sequence just because I'm kind of with Mike in the chat here, where everything just kind of this whole season feels meaningless to me because of how we just go back, and because I feel like the character development wasn't really there. It didn't change a whole lot over the course of these episodes, so we didn't really need to go on this journey. And honestly, a big part of that is just because I'm watching this week to week, and because after every episode I'm talking to you guys about it for an hour. It's like naturally things are always going to change a bit when you do it this way. If I was still in my podcast hiatus and I was catching up on stuff and I had binged through this in a week, I think I actually probably would have liked what was going on there. But really just being strung along week to week, and like every episode ends in a cliffhanger, of course, and then to just kind of go back and undo it and none of it feels meaningful, that's where I just feel like this show didn't really respect my time. And so it's hard for me to feel invested in what was going on there. And I do love that finale from the first season, but that doesn't mean I want to undo whatever it was, 6 hours of content to go back to that moment.
See, and I guess that's just where, because yeah, Mike brings it up. We're basically exactly where season 1 ended, and I really disagree because you have Kang and Loki. They're swapping places. That's a big thing. Mobius, who the whole season for up until last week had no interest in seeing his previous life, has gained to be like, okay, I want to know what we're fighting for. He does that. Sylvie figured out that, okay, killing is not the right answer. She did that in season 1, episode 1 and 2 of this season. She was completely fine. And then eventually when she didn't kill Timely, realized, yeah, killing someone that created a bigger issue, that's a problem. The TVA and the entire TVA, true, there's some characters that like they didn't have the greatest response, but the TVA are not there pruning things. They're trying to manage these timelines. So I feel like everybody has changed other than He Who Has Remained. Same thing, TVA has a different function. Mobius is out there doing, like, he left the TVA. Sylvie's had a change of heart, and Loki, even then, like, his whole motivation was to get to, like, that's where I think he has different, because season 1 was just to find out who's doing this, get power of his life and everything like that. But to make the jump from to stop the TVA to become the TVA or become the Time Lord, like, I don't think that's in the season 1 finale. I don't think that's the same guy is. And even the stuff like talking about friends and not wanting to be alone, like, those are all other things that I really like that scene he has with Mobius. So I don't really think we are exactly. It is in a point where the timelines have branched, but even then, same thing. That was going to be, well, we got to get the timelines back together. Where now they've been like, well, let's let the timelines live on their own and see what happens. So I guess I don't see how that happens, because there's so many things that have changed with all the characters. That's my disconnect with that.
I can agree with you on Mobius. I obviously he goes through some development, but to me that's like the lowest stakes and least interesting one of them all. I do like his journey here, but yeah, for me it's the big guy. It's Loki, and and that he doesn't feel like he goes through that change for me. So yeah, it just sounds like we will not agree on this, which is just different strokes, I guess.
Where were you guys with the going back to the finale? And obviously he's going to try that. He's talked with Sylvie. You know, we've learned that Kang can just, or He Who Remains, can just, he has the TV switch pretty much pause every, which I like those moments. Those are fun, of like pausing Sylvie. And when she comes back, she kind of thinks something's happened, but doesn't really know exactly what's happened. So that was a fun moment.
Yeah, I was very happy to get He Who Remains back and to just basically expand upon that scene that we got in the finale of season 1, but just have a one-on-one with him and Loki, because that's not really what was able to happen, right? He wasn't able to just have a sit-down conversation with him without Sylvie just wanting to chop his head off, essentially. And like, obviously he has all this knowledge now. I mean, he's been going through this moment trying to stop it for centuries, let alone just what he's been through from the time of that season 1 finale. So it was really great. I really like just like the banter amongst those two characters. I like how He Who Remains, like, yeah, you would like pause Loki, and then Loki would say whatever. He's like, you're my favorite out of the two of you.
Yeah.
And like, just, I don't know, he was just really great at delivering those lines. And I really was convinced that Sylvie was going to have to bite the bullet there, and that was, I think, going to be a really big emotional moment, even though I didn't love Sylvie in this season. I liked her a lot more in season 1. But I am glad that it didn't go that route, because she is a very, very like tortured soul, right? Like, all she really wants is to just have her own free will, able to live her own life, and that's just what she's been chasing. So if she would have just died by Loki, it just would have been such a tragic character, such a tragic end for a tragic character. So I am glad that, we didn't get a full, clear, concrete answer where she's at. I just picture she's at McDonald's, flipping burgers, having a good life there.
Yeah.
But
Helping
I
Mobius kill that other Mobius version of himself. He's just sitting there like, how am I going to hide this body?
I'm your daddy now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really happy that we were able to go back on that, because that was just such a great scene from that season 1 finale. And some people might argue it's just a little cop out, just redoing that same scene, sort of take that great scene from season 1. But I kind of see it differently there. I am glad that we were able to just go back and fill in some more cracks there. But yeah, no, I thought it was good.
What are you, Taylor?
Oh, can you repeat the question, please?
I had a feeling. He Who Remains section, going
Yes,
back.
yes.
Sylvie.
I was pleasantly surprised at how far back we actually went with that. Again, that was one of the things that we had discussed, but to kind of pinpoint where they're gonna actually land, it blew my mind, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked seeing how many different spots he was jumping to, and yeah, the centuries thing blew my mind, because you said it when we were watching it. This is like the oldest living Loki. That's, I mean, out of all the variants, like this is like, to me, this is Loki Prime. So he's gone through all this, and I thought the jokes were working really, really well. That humorous tone for me when he was just saying things before OB was finishing his sentences and all that kind of stuff, and Mobius is like what's going on? Like, what's this shit? You gotta tell me what's going on. And he's just going, trying to do all his stuff and make it work. I thought that was fantastic. And yeah, I think that how they I lost my train of thought. Shit. how they tackled him dealing with Kang, I thought was really, really good as well. Because, like I said, I wasn't expecting to get that season 1 variant of Kang back into the show here. So I thought that there was a lot of fun with that, and how he kind of broke free and was like, "Oh, you haven't learned how to do that yet? I thought you would have." And then they just start talking. He's like, "How many times have you tried, saving my life already here before?" and all that stuff. And I love that, because it's just like it breaks the mold for a little bit there, and breaks the scene, the set piece that you're kind of been following, because they do a good job setting you up in this whole adventure too, where it's been maybe like 20 minutes of him going through and just doing things over and over and over again, going further and further back. And finally you get here and it's like, oh, this is all a ruse, because Kang has just been playing you this whole time. And I really like that. I thought it was great. And it creates that commanding intensity that he had in that first season. And it just ties in nicely too, where he's like, "See you soon," and he, at the time, you think, "Oh, he just means it's going to be one of his variants. It's going to be seeing Loki soon." But in reality, no, he's saying it because he knows Loki's going to come back to this moment, like, "Oh, we'll see you soon, and we're going to have this conversation again." I thought that was really, really cool how they actually tied that over. So, all in all, I thought that it was really, really well done, and I like seeing how things kind of panned out from that.
I absolutely love to that line when Loki basically is very clearly not going to kill Sylvie here. He's going to try and put an end to this, and then Victor, I almost call him Victor Timely. He Who Remains is just like, and here we go, round and round and round again. It's just like thinking about how many times he's probably gone through this exact same moment. Previously, not until the end result. I'm sure this is probably the first time that Loki's just take it upon himself and defeated the Loom that way. I don't know how he would have gone through that and then ended up back at this location. It seems like the end of the road there.
Yeah, and then from there, I'm trying to think. So you had the fight, and then he goes. That's when he decides he walks out by himself. Love the last little look he gives to Mobius and Sylvie, because he knows what's up. And Tom Hiddleston, great, just sad eyes all the time, but he can do that. And then we get one of the coolest Disney Plus shows. They love heroes getting their costume in the finale of the penultimate episode, and it kind of happens here. But as Loki's walking and intertwining all this stuff, he's getting some nice loafers, but he gets the big horns. He's looking very comic book accurate. The most comic book accurate he's looked probably ever in the MCU. Maybe a few times with the New York and Avengers, that was like a variant of that. But all these branches are dead in a sense, but he's taking them and he's using his time splitting, his time skills or I don't know if they're skills, but whatever they're called, powers. Yeah, it's a pretty good skill, to re-injuvenate and bring life back to these timelines. And then he flips everything. He finds a throne, which at first I thought was the Thanos throne, because it looked like that little space rock Thanos was on. But no, it's just the house that Kang's little thing was like dissipating and everything. And then he makes him into a tree. It looks very much like the Norse god tree, flips it over, and now all these timelines instead of before, because like we touched upon a little bit, but he said that the Loom is not designed, it's designed to destroy everything. It's a failsafe except for the sacred timeline. So that's why people at TVA would die, because you can always remake another TVA, but you can't remake a sacred timeline. He gives his pitch. And that's where Kang kind of says, like, no matter what, this is the route it has to go. And that's where Loki decides, okay, he's going to be like what we talked about. He is now the, he who remains, or the man in time. And multiple times, I guess, because he is in the multiverse there. Like, it's not just one sacred timeline, it's multiple. So how did you feel? Because Dylan, we had talked about that, about this could be him kind of taking the place of Kang. And in the way, I guess, Kang, or he who remains, posed it as, it's kind of like someone has to be there, right? Because if not, it's just going to be him, right? So how do you feel about Loki? We talked about, but officially being, the new He Who Remains, and he's at the end of multiple times, and who knows when we'll see him again and such.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard for me to separate just that part from the rest of it. And since I was so low on this whole season, I just had little investment in that storyline. Because in theory, I really like the idea, and in theory, I really like the idea of the whole season. It's just the execution didn't work for me. And when it comes down to that sequence, I CGI fest. I think it didn't look good. I thought it was very.
Oh,
I did not
wow,
like the way
yeah,
he was
wow.
moving around and like using his fucking Navi tail to like connect lights and stuff. It just, I didn't think it looked very good. I like the costume for what it is, but I feel like you kind of barely see it anyway. So yeah, it didn't really work for me. Cool concept, execution pretty bad for me.
No, Taylor, where are you?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Like visually for me, it was the bee's knees and just seeing those super panned out shots of him striding through and his cloak and just how his horns were different from previous horns we've seen. I don't know. He just it just felt like in that prime Loki. This Loki was not screaming out glorious purpose. He wasn't trying to, I don't know, be any version of his old self. This is Loki too that could have gone at any point in time. You could have gone back and taken advantage of a previous experience outside of the TVA, but no, he used his powers to go back and try and fix the situation. So this is the result of this Loki ascending to this higher tier basically. And so him with the green aesthetic and the lights like flowing through the different branches that he's revitalizing and reviving, I thought that was super cool. So for me, there's a lot of very beautiful scenes here that I really was digging, and him just sitting in that throne was neat when he wishes the timelines around and he like flexes and like just pulls them in, and he's just there. I really did think, and I think you mentioned this, Travis, that when he's walking, he might. What if they put like Hugh Grant in there, like old, or maybe you
Can you
mentioned the
imagine?
costume.
Not Hugh Grant. Richard
It was the
E. Grant.
costume. Richard
It's
E.
Hugh
Grant. Oh, not Hugh Grant. One of the Grants.
He's already a Oompa Loompa. We don't need him to be a Loki now, too. You know.
Can you imagine if they swap the actor and then it's just this older actor now just sitting on the throne? Like Tom Hiddleston is just nowhere
Just
near
done.
the end of this
He's
finale.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for a second,
Just
at first, when he was
second.
walking through time, I was wondering if they were like making him older, but it was just like the costume and stuff going. But because we had
It looked
seen
like- I feel like I saw a couple wrinkles, but I think
Yeah.
It looked like it a little bit.
a
Yeah.
couple more, yeah. But then like the last shots of the show, he doesn't really have those. So maybe that's just like time dust around him or
Time
something.
Botox,
But
yeah.
because like you already talked about the wallpapers here, that photo's all over the place where he's like smiling and he has the green around him and everything. So I thought you could get Richard E. Grant because they had set that up, but clearly not because I think they're gonna save Tom for obviously like Avengers or Secret Wars or stuff. But I feel like it's gonna be a moment. I don't think like that's what the writers are always saying. They're saying there's not a season 3. Like this is it for the show as of right now. So I feel like Tom gets a little break, and then they're gonna bust him out. And I really, again, I feel like he should be on the team that takes Kang down. I know he's like at the end of time now, but they've done so much to. I feel like I kind of the way they tried to pose Thanos and Iron Man as like number one rivals because Iron Man kept having this like this vision of something coming and something's gonna take over New York. And yet, I feel like none of the Avengers are gonna be as closely connected to Kang as Loki is throughout these 2 seasons and the multiple times he's bumped into him. But who knows? Maybe Deadpool. I guess you got multiverse stuff there. Maybe Thunderbolts. He's popping off. I don't know what he's doing in Thunderbolts, but
It's definitely a good spot to. You could let this guy sit here for 10 years and then pull him
Yes.
back, and it will be totally fine. It's not
Yeah.
a cliffhangery ending, but it's perfect in that way. A good ending in that.
and it's
sense.
one of those because we always talk about like, oh, where'd this character go or what are they up to? You don't really have to explain what like
Yeah, it's
technically.
that's an important job. He's got to sit on that throne and
Yeah.
do his weaving.
Technically, you could never have him come back, and it could make sense because it might be like, oh, well, he's just doing some multiverse sitting around timeline stuff. You know, he's just making sure these branches are around. Again, I think he will. I think again, that ending. I think they should do a cliffhanger ending. Now, I've said it before, but imagine if Kang Dynasty ends and they reach the end of time and Thor is there, and that's when you get to Loki, and that's when you cut. Like, I think you have to do Thor and Loki meeting now. I think it'll be a missed opportunity. I trust them to do that. I think they're smart enough. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at a list, but it's definitely a top MCU moment. There's part of me that's biased because like Loki's my, I would say, second favorite character. It's tough after these past 2 seasons. I think he might eclipse Cap. I just love the journey he's been on. And I love that. Again, we just talked about last week where he's talking about his number one fear is being alone. And now here he is. He's the most alone he's ever been in his life. And also the idea of the title of the episode being Glorious Purpose. The whole saying is burdened with glorious purpose, right? And he always said it in a very cocky, arrogant way, like, oh, I have to look after these peasants and I am a god. But now he's literally burdened with the worst glorious purpose you could get of like watching trillions of lives. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Visually looked great. I loved everything. I loved the look. I loved the colors. I thought it was just like a home run, just stuff ripped out of the comic book. So where were you, Kirkland, on the Loki Who Remains now, it looks like?
Yeah, I really liked it. It's nice knowing that he's kind of just on the back burner simmering. You know, he's not in the deep freeze. Like, well, maybe he is. You know, it depends how long I guess we see him. But
Yeah.
in my eyes, he's just kind of simmering in the back, just getting that perfect little thickness to him, ready to for the main course. I don't know where I was going with this
Thickness, yeah,
analogy.
the thickness.
Let's just end it here.
He's
No,
hibernating, yeah, he's
I really
He comes
liked
out
it.
just fucking he's like Hemsworth. He's just put on the weight and he's just
Those
like
Drax arms.
Yeah,
He's
he's
got
like, I've been
Drax
holding these
arms,
trees
yeah.
for a long time. You know,
Just
there's a lot of
massive.
branch. Yeah.
No, I really liked the whole scene too. Just the march through the tangled webs of whatever the hell it was. Looked very hairy to me, but I like the green aesthetic on it, and I did like the comic book look that he's kind of sitting on at the end on the throne there. So yeah, I just really liked. I like the visuals too of the actual tree when they do the zoom out, and then they kind of transfer that symbol over to the TVA. So yeah, I thought it was really badass way to say goodbye to Tom.
It's Tom, first name basis. Eh? And what I like about it too, and what I was worried was in episode 4, I always thought that if we went back to the very beginning, like they did in this episode, and then he goes there, I like that our main characters, Loki, Sylvie, BB-15, whatever her name is, the Hunter 15. Yeah, B-15, thank you. That they still have had all these experiences with Loki. Like at the end, Mobius is sad that Loki's gone. It's not just a reset. No one knows who Loki
Yeah,
is.
if they didn't remember him, I would have been totally distraught.
Yeah, and I like that. And I like that in this timeline, He Who Remains is technically dead, right? So this plan he kept having of, oh, you're always going to have to come back to the start point of the season 1 finale. They've bypassed that, and he is dead. What makes me curious is, like, do other Kangs, can they figure this out? Do they even care? That's a question for, like, another day. But that's what I like, where he did kind of, you know, what a trickster, god, you know, god of mischief. He kind of weaseled his way out of this kind of loop that they put him in. And again, I think that's where people have talked about too, like episode 1, and this is the same title. I think that's the same way the past few weeks they talk about like a snake eating its own tail. It kind of feels like that. Like we have been in a circle, but now it's been replaced. And yeah, I'm very curious what they do, but I think it's gonna be a hot minute before we see him. You know, at least 3 years, I'll say, at least the minimum. So
At least 3.
oh yeah.
Curious where he ends up.
Very curious.
Tell me now, what have you done with my time?
Let me ask you this: what's happening with Ravonna? They just dump her in that world with Eliath and let her die? Is that what's going on there, or am I missing something?
Is that what she sees at the end? That purple glow? Is that a lie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still going on. Yeah, she's there, but I don't think she dies because she has like a look of determination at the end. So I think she's gonna be like Loki and Sylvie and figure it out. And I don't know because I don't know what Eliath is protecting
How did
anymore.
they get out of there again? Did they just have a temp pad or something? What happened?
No, they did some sort of magic trickery or something.
They broke
She
through
doesn't
the
have
storm,
magic.
didn't they?
She's
They
a-
broke through the storm, and then inside the storm was the He Who Remains' castle. I
You
think.
think
Yeah.
Ravona's gonna do that?
No, she's fucked.
She's gonna
You think
kill
she's
Loki.
fucked? No, I don't.
I guess
I
they
think
leave it open so you can bring
Yeah.
her back, or she could be dead. But I don't know how you get out of that one.
I don't think she's
and that's
fucked.
a powerful card in Marvel Snap. Let me tell you that.
Eliath?
Eliath will fuck you up.
Yeah. I think with them showing that, to me, that was insinuating that you will see her again, in my opinion. I think it was just they wouldn't have to show that if she was dead, or they could have showed something more conclusive. Plus, the other thing we didn't talk about, too, very strange in that scene when they pan to the ground and they show that's the TVA. They show that it has the logo, it says, like, for all time, always. So it's like, why is the place we get pruned? Why is that the TVA? And is that something that happens in the future? It's very curious. So that's why I think with them showing that and them showing her, there's still
I know
more
there's
to it
just like
there.
a hidden teleporter situation going on with that, but I felt like I was missing something for sure.
Yeah.
What did they have a symbol like that in He Who Remains, like throne room, like on the ground? Was there a
Not that I recall, but I don't know if we saw we saw the ground, but I don't think they ever showed like they did with this, where they literally
symbol.
panned down and showed like the TVA logo and
Yeah,
then panned up. So they did that for a reason, something. And the TVA is still going to be active, obviously, but I just don't know why. You know, why is the TVA ran like that place eventually? You know, so who knows? Renslayer, and then we got Mobius, who's just gonna go walk the Earth. I guess he looked like he was gonna go see his
Turned
kids,
empty.
but it's that awkward situation of there's already a variant there, so maybe he'll go make his own family or kid somewhere, get a fake ID. I don't know.
I mean, he doesn't know his kids, right? So it'd
Yeah.
be kind of weird anyway.
Miguel
Probably
Harrigan
hates them. Probably
in
hates them
Spider-
if he gets to know them too. It's probably for
Hates
the
'em.
best. You never
Yeah.
know.
Remember Across Spider-Verse? Spider-Man 99 did that, and then the whole universe
No
collapsed on him?
spoilers. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, you'll learn about it quickly. You still haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse?
I have not. I don't know why.
I
not.
thought you would have by now. Okay,
It's a good
that's
movie.
interesting.
I missed the theater run, so now I'm like, there's
Okay,
no rush other than Golden Geese. Because I know
Yeah.
Kirkland's
Oh, that's on there. Yeah.
drooling for that one. So
yeah. Or
I didn't know if I was even gonna have to pitch it. It's news to me that you haven't seen it, so there you go. Now you
I'm
gotta
gonna
watch it.
It's a must watch. It's a
Yeah.
must watch.
Anything else we haven't covered? Sylvie just said bye to Mobius. We'll see her again. I'm happy she didn't die because again, I still very much want the Thor Loki Sylvie scene. That's still intact. We can still get that, and I hope that someday Loki and Sylvie will get back together because she seemed pretty, thankful for the sacrifice he made. We don't know what happened to Timely. Other Timely didn't get a book now when he was a kid, so that's very interesting too. Of
Yeah.
what's the trajectory of that. So again, there's there's a few little things between like Renslayer and showing that TVA, him not getting the book. It might not be a Loki season 3, but they're dropping little breadcrumbs to something.
Obi had like a little different book, eh? It was different. It wasn't as orange. It looked more yellow. I'm curious if the information.
The second one, right? Like the volume 2. That's what you mean?
Is that what it was labeled
Did
as?
it say
Volume
volume
one? I
two?
didn't see
It said
Oh, I
volume
didn't see
2.
that
Yeah.
either.
I missed that.
Did the one at the end? Yeah, I thought the one at the end. It was the same color scheme, but I didn't actually catch the second edition part on there.
Volume 2. Wonder
Maybe
what he
they
would
scratched
add
that
in.
second edition and just
I think it was second
Just
edition.
called
on
it.
there.
the first edition. I don't know. I
Mm.
don't
I
know
will
what
say
kind of
too-
mind wiping went on when they kind of reestablished the new and improved TVA.
I will say too, like early on in the show, I really was just assuming Obi was going to be a minor character that's only in like a handful of episodes. He made it in basically every episode. I'm really happy about
Yeah.
that because he was just fantastic.
He could pop up in Secret Wars too. Like they kept, like I think just
Yeah.
'cause
He's gonna be on like version 10 of that handbook by then.
I'm just saying that now, one of the Avengers movies you'll see him just because Kiki Kwan has blown up so much over the past year. This comeback, I think, with him being alive now, that character, they'll bring him back. They'll do something. And what do you think happened to Timely? The adult Timely? Did they just ship him back to his timeline and he has all this knowledge of what went down, or where did he go?
They just killed him. Don't need this guy anymore.
Mobius, along with killing himself,
Yeah, right after we didn't see it, but right after Loki walks out on the bridge, they're like, hey, why don't you go follow him? And he just gets
Yeah.
shredded up again.
Can you do that? And then no, yeah, done.
That would be funny.
And Miss Minutes is back. They've programmed her to hopefully be good, so she's with the.
Is
crew,
that
so-
what? Because Obi was like, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like they didn't actually make
yeah,
it clear
true.
if they reprogrammed her.
She's back. At
Probably
least,
less
but-
horny.
Right. That's why they had to get rid of Timely, or else she doesn't act right when he's around. She's all
When they
hot
boot
and
her
cold.
up, she's still extremely attracted to him.
Where is he? Where is he? Anything else? Any loose threads to tie up for the season, Loki?
I thought there was something I can't remember at this point. No, it's too late.
Going
Curious what it
twice.
was.
I'm
Can't think of
curious.
any.
Wow, just a flash. I'll let Taylor and Kirkland go first because maybe Dylan will think of it and then it will pop up. But Taylor, final thoughts. If you want to rate this, what would you give it?
Oh, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. This was an absolute banger season. I loved it start to finish. I thought that it was really, really well done in how it touched base on season 1 and kind of interwoven things. And I like how this finale was somewhat of a parallel to the season 1 finale, but in a very unique way in its own right, which I thought was really, really awesome. And I just love seeing where Loki is now. If you go back a few years, if you were to ask me, like, is this show going to be one of my favorite Disney Plus shows? I wouldn't have thought that, but everything that we've gotten in here is just, it's been
wouldn't have
great.
thought it.
I wouldn't have thought that, but it's just been great. And I hope that many people give it a chance that are out there and they dive into it and whatnot. Cause I feel like a lot of shows as of late, especially Secret War, Secret Invasion. It's been,
One more.
I know.
Give
It's
Secret
been,
Wars a chance.
It's been a tribulation for a lot of people, and so especially because it's just lackluster finales and all this kind of like yada 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 lately. So I'm just happy that we have a strong season here that closed out very, very well, and hopefully it sets the precedence for upcoming shows like Echo to do good stuff.
A little too late,
Shout out to
but
Echo.
yeah, should end it with you because
Looks
you
good
would
so
have been the
far.
highest. But Kirkland,
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this season. I think I was maybe a little bit skeptical coming into it, just knowing that the showrunner departed, and really loved that first season. And yeah, in my eyes, I think they're able to somewhat match that quality, and just surprised me with how much I truly enjoyed it and the direction that they went in. And just knowing that this was what was the line that it was like the one project that they didn't do any reshoots, didn't change anything, like they're just happy with it. And yeah, in my eyes, it was good. I think even like Tom Hiddleston to a certain extent was. I don't even want to say it because it seems bold, but it's just like, is he a step up from season one? Because there is those emotional moments, but it's also thinking back to like even just episode one when he sees his life go on through the screen and just the emotion that he showed. I think he's just been S tier through both seasons. So I won't say that he's better in this season, but he's great. He continues to be fantastic, and the addition of like Ki Kwan. Just a golden casting. If you're able to get that guy in your project, I feel like it just boosts a couple points in my eyes. So he is
Should bring him on
fantastic.
to GeekVerse. Make him
Yeah.
a
Oh
member.
yeah,
I'm working
If-
on it.
Fifth
Yeah,
member.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic. I would
24-hour
love that.
stream next year. Ki Kwan's gonna host the trivia. Can't
That'd
wait.
be sweet.
So yeah, if I had to give a number rating on the season, I think I would. I don't know. I don't even know what I gave for season one. So probably in that nine range, plus or minus. Yeah, 9 range.
9 plus or minus.
Mhm.
It's a good number.
Mr. Muss.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. Is there any? I feel like at this point we've got a couple things that didn't have a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene of any kind, but this didn't have one.
Right.
Endgame didn't.
Yeah, we're getting up there because I feel like Groot probably doesn't once again.
Yeah.
fucking Groot.
I feel like the one of the last Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I feel
Secret
like there's
Invasion
another
didn't,
show
right?
That
Yeah, Secret Invasion didn't because we thought it was gonna be a setup for the Marvels, and it wasn't. They just chose not to do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even watch half of that episode.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Good.
Just walked
Glad people
out
are
halfway
listening.
through the
Yeah.
finale.
just walk out of the review halfway through.
Walk out of my living room.
I remember what I was gonna say, and this is not a good like final thought thing, but I'll just say it anyway. Which is, Travis, you said that you're glad that Sylvie is still alive, and I wanted to echo that too because I'm glad that she's around, and also
Yeah.
I like the look she had going on in the season, the bangs and whatnot, but it was fun to see that season one look again, and that suit and the hair. She
It's a
just looked
prime
so
look, yeah.
good in that first season. So it's good to see her again. But
I get it. She's in the real world, but like I'm over the like jacket and like it's cool, but I want like the Loki aesthetic.
Yeah,
you
do
know, but-
the weird suit that everyone in the real world's gonna be like, what's
Those
this
football
freak doing out
shoulders
here?
she had this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, the Nosferatu look that she had.
I don't think I have much to say. Wasn't too hard on this. No real final thoughts. It was a disappointment, but I don't even know. There's not even a silver lining for me. I was just honestly quite bummed by it. So
Oh
there
boy.
you go.
Thanks for sticking around, though. It's nice to have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't ditch halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'd still put this below season one. I need to rewatch it again, which I will. I think it's still easily the strongest out of the shows, other than Loki, season one, as I said. I think I'm in like a 9.5 because I think there's just some stuff in general where, like last 2 weeks ago, we talked about like that scene with the Miss Minutes and all those hunters, and they had like their revolution of like, oh, we're not going to be with you, and they killed them. It's like, oh, that really was not as well executed. They could just take that out. Little stuff like when they did the whole like who's on the other line of the phone and what's gonna happen when Loki gets zapped. It's like, oh, okay, that was just kind of there. So I think there's minor stuff, but really enjoyed Victor Timely as a character. I like the twists and turns we've gone with Kang and He Who Remains. I like what Sylvie and like Loki did together. I like that they went like classic Iron Man style. We never did get that kiss. I still last week would like Loki to be wanting to be connect with her more, but I feel like this week they kind of went back with the season one finale of like the idea of them loving each other. But yeah, they didn't pull that. I think Owen Wilson again this episode really delivered. Like I know I was memeing on, but the scene where he is watching his family, he's just so torn of what to do here, and I think he really delivered. And yeah, Tom Hiddleston just continues. I think he got to show, like Kurt brought up in that season 1 episode last year, that or 2 years ago, whenever it was, that was amazing when he's seeing his whole life play out. But this one, he had just a lot of subtle moments that he had to carry, not big and grandiose. And yeah, overall, I think I have a few nitpicks, where season 1, I don't think I have like any nitpicks. So this is one that when I rewatch it, maybe get to a 10, but I think I'm going to settle the 9.5 right now. Pretty happy with overall. I love where we ended up, and I'm very excited to watch this all back to back. And I just love that this little journey of like, this is what I've wanted for so long. When we talk about Loki season 1, where I remember one of the first MCU petitions was to get Loki a movie, and I really wanted that. And this is like the closest season 1 and 2 to get to that. And now we're at hero Loki, and even more so, he's like a god hero that's like the end of all time and stuff. But I love that between both seasons, we got to see that change of a guy who wants to stop just thinking about himself being selfish, and then the guy who not only can't be selfish anymore, he has to be the most selfless person and take on all this. And it's burdened with glorious purpose. So yeah, really like that. Luckily, when we talk about, Taylor talking about the Marvels being the end for the MCU for a bit, I know we do have Echo, but for me, with this being Loki, it's okay. It ends on a high note, so it's the tale of 2 MCUs. But hopefully Echo's great. We might have What If at the end of the year. That's another rumor going around, so have some fun stuff there. But yeah, no, this was fun reviews. Taylor's ready to get out of here. So we will be back. Honestly, probably not Loki season 3, but whenever the MCU returns, trailers, cast announcement, the actual shows, movies, we'll be there. Thank you to everyone that went on this journey. Let us know in the Discord, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook, wherever you want to get a hold of us, what you want to talk about, questions, theories, stuff like that. Maybe we'll talk about a newscast. When you hear us next, it'll not be boring.
Bye.
Bye.